This and all talks at the 2019 JavaScript for WordPress Conference are brought to you in part by our sponsors Pantheon, a high-performance hosting platform with agile developer tools. Check them out at pantheon.io.
Hello, everyone. We're still at the JavaScript for WordPress Conference 2019. On now, I have Rich Tabor is going to be talking to us about building a business around blocks. So we'll just listen to Birgit where she gave us a lot of info on blocks. So hopefully we're going to learn how to build a business around it in your section. I know we're going to learn that for sure. So Rich Tabor is a designer and developer. He founded and sold what is TeamShop, TeamBeans, and Gutenberg block plugin to GoDaddy. Wow, that's awesome. So he's currently the product manager of WordPress Experience at GoDaddy. So excited to have you here. If you're here and you can hear us, you can see both of us, please say hi. Let's know where you're watching us from. I'm going to put Rich on the screen right now. So he will take it from here.
So hey everyone, I'm Rich Tabor, and we're going to talk through the ins and outs of building a business with the focus specifically on the Gutenberg ecosystem within WordPress. So I left a good bit of time at the end for a number of questions, so feel free to write them in as you think of them, and we'll be able to get to those at the end. So realistically, now is such a very interesting time to be in this space. As we all know, Gutenberg is changing the very landscape of WordPress. It's opening countless business opportunities within the new editing experience, just transforming just about everything we know about WordPress. So today we're going to dive in deep, taking a look at the Gutenberg ecosystem, the workings of the ecosystem and its health indicators to see if it's ripe for entry. We're going to look at understanding your customers, knowing exactly who you're building your solution for, and more importantly, why. What it takes to understand the problem that you're going to solve. Is this a real problem? Is it significant? And are you properly equipped to solve this problem? Why? And then we get to the fun part, launching. We'll talk about launching, getting your product or project off the ground and into the hands of users. And then the art of looking out for opportunities that may present themselves after launch, such as pivoting. Now, there are so many topics that we could cover, and I'm sure we'll touch on a few of these other ones here and there. But the 5 that I chose are absolutely essential to building a business and foundational to the projects that I've personally touched. But first, a little bit about myself. My name is Rich, and I've been in the WordPress space since around 2011. I started my hand designing and then developing WordPress themes at ThemeBeans. It's a shop mostly focused on beautiful and simple themes for creative professionals and writers. While at ThemeBeans, I also reviewed themes for Envato, and I did a bit of contract work for big brands all around the world. Fast forward a couple of years, I co-founded CoBlocks, which is a Gutenberg block kit for page building. It's one of the first, and we're just really proud of the evolution of the project so far. And then recently, I sold both of these to GoDaddy in April this year, and I joined the team as the product manager of WordPress Experience. So that's where I'm currently at, continuing to work on CoBlocks and leveling up the WordPress Experience as a site building platform as a whole. So that's me, but now let's get to the good stuff. Let's start with a broad look at the Gutenberg ecosystem and understanding the importance of this ecosystem and understanding the importance of understanding it at such an intimate level. So why Gutenberg? Why build a business around this new editor? Is it because Gutenberg is new? Is it because Gutenberg is exciting? Or perhaps it's because it's the future of WordPress? You probably already know, but it's all three. Gutenberg represents a fundamental shift in how we manipulate the very content that is powered out of WordPress. As a content management system, this shift transforms the very nature of the system itself. This is big. But jumping into the fray at this stage of WordPress's evolution can be risky. How do we know if the Gutenberg ecosystem is primed for entry into the market? So let's start at the top. What exactly is a business ecosystem? It's a network of folks that are centered around one core technology who depend on each other. In this case, it's the block editor, Gutenberg. The success of Gutenberg is not in the hands of one singular developer. As much as we like to toss around the idea and suggest otherwise, hashtag WP drama, it really does rely on thousands of hands all across the world. And when we're looking at the health and potential of a business ecosystem, there are two key metrics that we want to look at. How stable is this ecosystem? And what's the potential for growth here? If the ecosystem is healthy, you'll see signs of longevity and growth, which will signal a prime ecosystem landscape ready to enter. But now, how do we measure an ecosystem's health through longevity and growth? And that's through these key indicators: productivity, robustness, and variety. When we look at productivity, we want to identify if there's a lot going on, such as new and innovative plugins in the field. So are there? Yes, there are countless plugins, nearly a new one every day or two, that are starting to leverage Gutenberg, and some of which are quite innovative. From looking at this field here, we know that there is a lot of productivity happening in this space, so we could check that box. Second, when we're looking at the robustness of an ecosystem, we want to understand how the other businesses in the system are doing, and are there investments coming into the field? So last year, WP Engine acquired Atomic Blocks, and in April, GoDaddy acquired CoBlocks. These investments in the system are marking a strong and robust landscape of Gutenberg block plugins overall. Now, is this the last of the block plugin acquisitions? I don't know for sure, but I would say probably not. Because there's a couple things here. There are a number of block plugins out there. There are a number of potential buyers, like hosts or even theme shops. And a lot of theme shops are even looking to pivot into the block space. And acquiring another plugin is a great way to get started on that. So, though I'm not sure, I would lean towards we'll probably see more activity on this front in the coming months or years. Now, variety is the third indicator of ecosystem health. And this is a snapshot of whether or not there are a number of niches forming. What variety of offerings exist? Is there plenty of variety? Are these niches forming to serve a broad landscape of people? And out of the three indicators, productivity, robustness, and variety, I would say that variety is probably the weakest right now in the Gutenberg ecosystem. In one sense, there's a ton of variety because there's a lot of plugins to choose from. But in another sense, a lot of them are leaning towards the page building capabilities at the top. We are starting to see more and more come out that are niche centric, and I expect that to grow pretty quickly. So I wouldn't necessarily mark this as a negative for health. So as we apply these indicators to the Gutenberg ecosystem, all of these point to a healthy and thriving system that is quickly maturing. So after looking at the system and analyzing its overall health, let's dive in deeper and zoom into the customer level, the all-important customer level. So you absolutely have to know who your customer is. There's just no way around it. This is the number one piece here. Who are you building this for? Drill down to the specifics. What is their technical level? Are they advanced developers who check into the AWP Facebook group daily? Or is this the first time that they've ever logged into WordPress? Or are they somewhere in the middle? What are their needs? Why do you specifically fit that need? Every business needs a reason for their customers to buy from them, and not from competitors. This is called the unique sales proposition, or otherwise USP. Your USP can be identified by completing the phrase, and we're all muted, so if you want to go ahead and say it with me. Customers will buy from me because my plugin is the only one that does X, or the most powerful solution for X and for Y. or the absolute easiest and most delightful way to do X and Y. Our proposition for CodeBlocks is that people will use CodeBlocks because it is the most empowering yet simplest solution to building pages in Gutenberg. Building blocks is not hard. I mean, it can be complicated, but it's not super hard. Building blocks with tons of options is not hard, but building blocks that provide a lot of flexibility and empowerment, but also maintain simplicity is hard. And that's exactly what we build. And that's exactly what sets CodeBlocks apart. So if you don't understand your customers or know why they need your solution, you're just going to miss that mark completely. Which is why it is so important to understand the problem and know exactly what you are trying to solve. You may have a lot of ideas, but after knowing who you want to serve, you should hone in and precisely understand what you're trying to do. So here are some questions you can ask yourself. How big is this problem? Is this serious? Is it important? Does it affect a lot of people? Does it impact your customer's way of work or even way of life? Have I validated this problem? Do I have proof that this problem exists? Is this a problem that I face? As I say, eating your own dog food, using your own products? Have I reached out to confirm with potential customers about this problem in the first place? And I just want to hone in on this one. Is this even a real problem? The way I like to put it is have I found this to be a real problem that real people have presented as a very real issue that they're really facing? See what I did there? The fact that this problem needs to be so real that it's tangible and you can really apply a solid solution to that is so important. So if your problem is pretty big, it's validated and real, then guess what? It's time to get a move on because you're onto something. Start building something. Start exploring ideas and exploring solutions to this big, validated, and real problem. And when then you're ready, it's time to launch. So let's talk about that art of launching. Sure, blocks are new, but one thing that we all need to remember is that plugin businesses are not. And that's precisely what makes this such an opportunistic time to be a WordPress developer. We're no longer figuring out the business side of things. We have experience, we have models, we have proven ground right in front of all of us. For many of us, this isn't even our first rodeo, our first plugin, our first commercial project in WordPress. But if it is, you have a lot of people who've proven that you can build million-dollar ideas on WordPress. But honestly, it's about execution. If you know your customers, you have a very real problem with an awesome solution, then it comes down to execution next. Your plan can only take you so far. Your build can only take you so far. And the features you add and iterate upon can only take you that much further each time. But what can carry you on in the long run is how you execute and your dedication to execution. And that's even if you can get something out the door, because so many people don't. We must remember that nothing gets done if you never launch. Prepare an MVP. It's a minimal viable product. It doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It probably shouldn't be perfect. I don't personally subscribe to the idea that you should be embarrassed of your V1 release, but at the same time, it doesn't need every single feature that you can imagine or that you would want to be in the end product when you're first starting and getting out the gate. My personal mantra when it comes to launching is to launch early and to iterate super often. When we first launched CodeBlocks, the MVP was oriented towards content marketers and publishers. I did that for two main reasons. The first is that those type of blocks were far easier to build than any other. I was new to JavaScript and React, and I needed a way to kick off my development skills and to start building blocks. It seemed like a smart strategy and a logical fit for how I learned, so I went with that. And the second reason was that it was super quick to get a purposeful MVP launched so that I could get real user feedback on what I was building. Gutenberg was new. People were learning how to use it nearly every day. It's a hard system to grasp at first. And I wanted to get my blocks out there early enough so that I can adapt and learn with them. So iteration is great, but there's one super important piece to remember when it comes to iterating. And it's something that I personally struggled with. And that's not to let the day-to-day fixes and tweaks get in the way of building something incredible. And not just something incredible, but more importantly, launching something incredible. One piece that you may or may not know about the origin of Cobox is that after launching, we pivoted quite hard. Jeffrey and I actually started building a project together before Cobox. We nearly launched this alternate plugin, but decided instead to pivot Cobox into the page building arena, merging all the incredible progress and work we've done on our separate plugin. But why? Cobox already had users. We already had design around it. We already had a landing page. We already had a solid brand forming around it. I personally had already learned the basics of block development and was looking to start pursuing more advanced solutions. So essentially overnight, our efforts became focused and instantly realized instead of starting over from ground zero. The result is that we made a clear impact on the Gutenberg landscape, which eventually led to the acquisition of Coblox. So I would encourage you to keep an eye out for signs of opportunity and consider pivoting towards it if the cards are in your favor. So let me ask you this. What do most successful plugin businesses have in common? Just think about that, because I know. They have clear messaging because they understand their customers. They understand their needs. They understand who they are, what they do, what they want. They understand it all. Successful plugin businesses launch consistently. They confidently iterate their products, therefore instilling confidence in their users. And they are aiming to solve very real problems that real people face every day, that need real solutions, and they feel like they have the best solution for that problem. And then what ends up setting apart the field is the execution. They know how to execute because they focus on it. They drive home the plan and they make it happen. And last year, they focused on supporting their customers. One thing that I've always told myself is become a partner, not just a plugin. Be more than a couple sets of files on their WordPress installation. Actually help them succeed in whatever you're trying to help them do. So after all this, you may be starting to ask yourself, or you may have already thought about it, should I build blocks? Or even if you should consider selling blocks. But I think you're kind of looking at this in the wrong way. Instead, you should be asking yourself if you should build solutions and if you should sell solutions. Because if you have an innovative idea that will make a real difference and solve a very real problem, and I would encourage you straight up go for it. If you're a developer, learn JavaScript. Yes, it could be challenging and it could be easy too, but it's going to get more and more challenging as you develop more and more complex yet simple solutions. but there are tons and tons of valuable resources to get you up and running, especially all these courses here. It's awesome. If you're not a developer, start networking. Go to WordCamps. Start contributing. Find someone you know, or find someone to work with who is just as passionate about WordPress as you are, and just as passionate about helping people as you are. Because the ecosystem is primed. It's ready to go. And it's a fantastic time to jump in and with innovative and thoughtful ideas. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? So thanks for listening. And once again, I'm Rich Tabor, and these are my thoughts on building a business around blocks. So yeah, I left some time for questions. So let's get to them.
I learned a lot. This is new, but plugin is the old business. So this is ideally like the right time to tap into it. Like if you feel there's a need to solve a problem or a particular problem, this is a very good time to tap into it and build a business on it.
Yeah, like it's really the best time since WordPress came out and custom post types became a thing for people to really take a hold and dive into it. I think it's a grand opportunity, realistically. So it looks like we have a couple coming in.
Yes.
So,
have from Luca.
All right, Lucas. So Luca asked, how do you think the upcoming block directory will work with block collections? That is very interesting. I think that we're going to have, of course, the installable plugins within the block directory as single plugin packages or single block packages. But I still think we're going to have collections at least for a while, because or at least some way to pre-install maybe an entire, like a whole suite of plugins from the block directory through another plugin, because these collections, although they can be big in a sense, like CoBlocks, I think now we have 15 or so blocks. At the same time, we're adding things that we think are necessary for page creation and page curation. And without different pieces, when we have separate components and separate style sheets and separate assets for individual blocks that might be cumbersome. Eventually, we might be at a point where those are less of a big deal. But I still think there'll be some way to install a group of blocks at a time through plugins, at least.
Great. Right. I hope I answered your question, Luca. You have another one from Kurt, and then I'll take the ones in the widgets.
Oh yeah. What resource would you recommend for new plugin developers? So the Gutenberg handbook on WordPress.org is a valuable resource just to dive in and start understanding what's happening. And then I go into Gutenberg, the Gutenberg GitHub repository, and just dig in everywhere, see what's happening, see why things have changed the way that they've changed, and ask questions and really get some feedback on that sense. And if you're more of a learning through like courses, like there's all these courses here on JavaScript for WordPress, and they're all fantastic and they're up to date pretty well.
Great, thank you. I don't know if you can see the question, but I'm going to read it out. So William asked, he said, can you give tips on where to start learning plugin marketing?
Marketing. Yeah, marketing is a totally different approach, I guess, a different beast. It's plugin marketing isn't any different than any sort of online marketing that you're working on. I think what's interesting there is if you can get creative, because for CoBlocks, for example, we wanted to showcase video because we wanted to demo these blocks that we're creating, but it's hard to just show a block because it looks like it's supposed to look like. It's a design. It's not really an element that you're interacting with. Where Gutenberg shines is how you interact with it. So we built videos around that, just really short 20, 30-second videos that were pretty dynamic with text and bold imagery, just to showcase all the new and cool stuff that we're doing. So we thought outside of that box, but also just go into video to showcase that medium. So if you're building blocks, I would lean heavily on video, but not just normal average tutorial type videos. Like I would go crazy, figure out how to do something creative in a very short attention span and spread the word that way.
Great. You have another question? I'm typing it into the chat. JR asked, what do you think is missing in the block ecosystem right now? What are some cool niche that could be served?
That is a very interesting one. I think right now, most folks are leaning in the generic and just page building type area. What could get interesting if we start seeing blocks that integrate with other systems and other APIs, where it's seamless to add, say, a Google Calendar to your page. And maybe it's not even using just a straight calendar. Maybe you're just displaying all your events, or you can kind of select and display how you want those to work. And I think if we lean towards the services and the APIs that could integrate with WordPress in a block format, things will start getting pretty awesome pretty fast. Then on top of that, all these custom post types that we're used to, I think are going to start moving more into the block layouts and block templating and such. And we'll see less actual custom post types for a lot of different types, like team members and for portfolios and such. But what I'm curious about is products and how WooCommerce and Gutenberg will evolve somehow and become a better product system, because e-commerce is, the next big wave that we'll be focusing on. As Shopify is killing it right now. After the acquisition of Atomic Blocks, they are planning to release a premium version. Is Cobox headed towards a similar route? And as of now, no. We're not working on a premium plugin for Cobox, and I don't see that in the foreseeable future. We're actually just leaning heavily on providing the resources for folks to really build just really awesome pages and add their features, add their services, restaurants to add their menus. And these are all blocks that we've either released or just about released. And just really empowering, the everyday WordPress user to go in and build out pages without having to toggle on and off a ton of options and settings or install a ton of plugins or add shortcodes. So we want to make that content creation experience next level and kind of, surpass what could have been done within all these other different various page builders, but in all these different other various ways, and make it one simple executed way. But no, we're not leaning towards a premium version at all.
Okay, great. We have one more using the widget. William says, I don't know if this is a statement or a question. He says, would love to see more competitors to Woo, with all respect to Woo. So William, I'm guessing that's a statement or a question?
Yeah, I think WooCommerce is great because it's so big and the ecosystem around it, just for the same reason that WordPress is so great. I mean, Gutenberg is becoming so great because of the plugins and the supporting acts all around it. But I don't know. I mean, more competitors to Woo would be great because we would see faster innovation and then more encouraging development towards the project. But I do think it is on the right path, like the new React-powered dashboard that they're building. But we need to focus on UX and making the product creation experience like next level. Because if we do that, then we'll start leaning into Shopify's territory. Just because like they have the building capabilities and they have an awesome experience creating products through their ecom editor. So I think that's where we need to focus on, and whether that's by extending WooCommerce or by competing with WooCommerce, it's either way will encourage that development.
Great. So I have one question just before you answer Gerald's question. I have one question because This is a less technical track. I don't know if it's a question or a statement. Does it mean that for one to start a business building blocks, like the person doesn't have to have technical skills, like be able to program?
Well, so at the very end, I mentioned if you're a developer to dive into JavaScript and figure it out, even if you're new and don't understand any of it, because that was me 2 years ago. Or if you're not, to find someone who is just as passionate about WordPress and just as passionate about helping people as you, who does know and does have those skills. Because it takes you can do it all yourself, but it does take a product owner. It does take an engineer, a designer, a UX driver, a support tech. There's marketing. There's all these different hats, and one or two people can wear them until there's time to grow. But really finding someone to help you figure that out. There are tools, like Block Lab is working on tools to help you build blocks. But I think that the custom built blocks will have a little bit more leverage on the UX side of things with those blocks.
Great.
All right,
so you have another question for JR?
All right. So JR asked that I mentioned theme shops pivoting into blocks. Coming from the theme development side yourself, how do you see theme development changing? Yeah, so this is super interesting. I know Matt talked about themes at his summer update in the WordCamp EU conference a couple weeks ago, and I follow the same thought process that he's thinking. The themes will become more style-oriented, like they were originally, and the content creation experience will reside within editor and block development. I think we'll see a future where themes are less templated. They might have suites of blocks or particular blocks that they're best suited for, but I don't think that we're going to have about page 1, about page 2, contact pages, even portfolio post types and team member post types. Like those won't be part of themes or part of even post types. So I see theme development maybe in the far future. Far future could be 2 or 3 years, where it's a style declaration where we pick button colors and we pick widths and we pick fonts from a design perspective, but then Gutenberg inherits all of that within itself. So when you're editing a page, you can just pick a style pack from your theme perhaps, and it's just different versions of those styles within the one theme, or instead of changing a whole theme. But I think the idea of themes has already shifted quite a bit, but I think it's going to completely turn around on us and be a whole different project in a year or two.
Awesome. So back to when William asked if we would saying he would love to see more competitors to Woo. Do we have as many competitors to WooCommerce right now? Because personally, I don't know any aside from Shopify, which is not on WordPress. Another. Do we have like a lot of them right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of different plugins.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I've never come across any. Okay, so William also says, would you you recommend definitely focusing on React? Is asking.
Yes, that's true. I think now that it's in core, it's something that is that we're going to be building off of for some time, at least for the stage that Gutenberg's in, and who knows what editor comes next in 10+ years or so. But for now, I think React is where we need to, as a developer, where you should focus or try to lean into, and then even if you're really fresh and really new, just the flavor that WordPress gives you, just to start and to figure out what's what and understand how to actually get something into the editor in the first place, and then diving into the more technical talks and the more technical sessions as you're getting leveled up. But yeah, React is where to be right now. So Luca asked, so given that the talk is about building a business around blocks or about blocks, that CoBlocks is and will remain free, what is the business model for it? And he hopes that he's not too direct. Well, you're definitely not too direct. So, it's interesting. Before the acquisition, our model was to continue building it and eventually build some sort of pro or plus level system for advanced features and advanced blocks and whatnot. But now that we're at GoDaddy, it's completely different. We have a bigger team. We have a lot more resources. And GoDaddy's invested in making this a solid experience and the best block plugin around. And in that is the plan around the project is to make WordPress better through CoBlocks. And by making WordPress better, it makes WordPress at GoDaddy better. And then it extends to eventually some of the features within CoBlocks coming into core, which makes WordPress better for everyone. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship there. And it's not really a business sense in a bringing in money for the plugin, but more of a focusing on the customers and delivering exactly what they need to help them solve the problems that they have, which is being able to actually create something in WordPress, which is very hard. So by solving those problems, GoDaddy will be more awesome, and WordPress will be more awesome.
Okay, so thank you very much once again, Rich. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I enjoyed listening to your talk.